Ow. This candle is... I really miss those late night televangelist shows like Shepherd's Chapel. Chapter 1. Everything comes from one thing. The one thing that everything comes from is called God. God's name is Elah, E-L-A-H. God is oneness and has two faces and many children. The universe is filled with God's children. The universe is the child of God, and the universe is the womb which carries God. The name of God, Elah, has two parts, El and Ah. El is what one of the faces of God is named, and Ah is what the other face is named. Together, El and Ah make one power. Sometimes El and Ah come apart, and sometimes they come together, and sometimes they go apart. Together, Elah creates, and apart, El and Ah undo. What is created always comes apart, and what comes apart is always renewed. The universe is the work of Elah, God. Life is the work of the universe. The soul is the work of life. Religion is the work of the soul. And God is the work of religion. That's one that I kind of want to explain. I did have a whiteboard here. It's not really useful though. Lego my ego. Arctic Wolf, what's going on, man? How are you? This is way too just obnoxious. This whiteboard. I'm okay. I'm just chilling. Had one too many coffees. So now I'm up late, so I figured I'd go live on this channel, talk about God. Zach, hi. It's nice to see you. How are you doing? Hello. Wish I had a real eraser. How was your day? Good, but you look sad. I'm not particularly sad. I think I'm just tired. The winter really gets to me. Seasonal depression. Sorry, I'm trying to erase this whiteboard. I'm erasing it with a sock. How are you doing, like, emotionally? Wait, I am in England. Oh, hello. I've never been to England. I flew over England. I've been to Germany, and I was very close to France, but not quite. But I did look out the window over England. It's nice of you to join me. So now that that's cleared, hi, I'm from Brazil. Hello. How is Brazil? Is it temperature wise, is it cold at all down there? I'm in Michigan. Hello, Sigma. I'm talking about something called Sunesis, which is my religion, and God in general. I had a lot of coffee, stayed up kind of late, so I thought I'd put on this live. Lower Peninsula, wet bricks. So there's a verse or a sentence that says the universe is the work of Elah, God. Elah, E-L-A-H. It's an old Aramaic word. Life is the work of the universe. The soul is the work of life. Religion is the work of the soul. And God is the work of religion. So in that sentence, what's trying to be communicated is that God is both at the beginning of the sentence, like it's all one string of words, and at the end, so that everything is full circle. What's up, Pink Fur? How are you? Is your online name Lily? I don't mean to just keep randomly calling you Lily. So I thought that would be an apt sentence to try to illustrate visually rather than just leave it with words. So if you look at it, and if I can get this whiteboard to cooperate, this was kind of what I was visualizing when I wrote that. You got the universe is the work of Elah, God. Life is the work of the universe. The soul is the work of life. Religion is the work of the soul. God is the work of religion. So this seems really simplistic, but damn. Circle and a circle and a circle. You could also draw it as like a pyramid, whatever. But that's like a visual representation. If I should get one of those small ones. Well, basically, the universe, this big circle, represents all of creation. All of creation's epitome is life, conscious life. No, it's not Lily, but it's okay. You can call me Lily. Okay, Lily, I'll call you whatever you want. So this is all of creation, or the aggregate. Life is the work of the universe. In other words, by work, the word work is meant epitome, goal, summation, that type of word. The soul is the work of life, which would be that one. Religion is the work of the soul, which is there. And God is the work of religion, which is the smallest rung in this. So the smallest rung, or you could say alpha, is the same as omega, the big. That's how God's universality works. So that sentence or that string of words is what that's trying to communicate. As within, so without, as above, so below. Those tropes. Forgive me for the giant freaking board there. What shows? What do you mean, what shows? Wait, did you not be able to see that? You know, I do have a pad of paper. Consciousness is God, what we experience. I almost want to say sentience or sentience. Is God that minute circle, the work of the soul? That sentience is the same as the farthest, largest, encompassing power coming through life, if that makes sense. If you could try to visualize it. But I thought that verse, it's written as verse 13, but I thought it merited a visual explanation. So the following verse says, everything is a circle, meaning everything is complete in you. The fact that you're aware right now is indicative of that completion. The completion of your awareness would be, what word do we have? Enlightenment, liberation, heaven, freedom, things like that. That's what enlightenment is. What's up, Shadow Band? Hello again, BMW. So the following verse says, every single one of Allah, God's children, share the qualities of their parents. The faces of Allah are everywhere. So that duality of El and Ah coming together, that duality is literally in everything in this physical existence. It can be gleaned from anything. Detecting it, determining where, is a whole other thing. But the fact is, this universe is the interconnection of Allah, God. In entropy would be the opposite, would be Allah sort of coming apart. And that's what like void is. That's what destruction is. So existing and enlightenment is one. Yes. When you become enlightened, you never became enlightened. You realized you always were. If that makes sense. When you search out for God, what you'll find is that you went searching full circle to the same spot you started. So if you're saying, Pink Fur, existing and enlightenment is one, correct. To be enlightened is to reduce all the complications of life, society, stigma, all this stuff that's arbitrary, to reduce that down to merely being. We tend to think of enlightenment as like a building up, but it's actually a reduction. It's a returning. It's not a going to somewhere you weren't already, but realizing where you are. I know that's like tossing around a lot of confused, like, that's why language is clumsy. It's inefficient. It's inadequate. But you hit the nail on the head. Once you're able to just exist without pretense, projection, striving, that is what enlightenment is. It just is. It's allowed to be, just is. Did I over-explain that? Can someone be half enlightened or get enlightened then revert back? I know it sounds crazy, but I'm curious. No, that doesn't sound crazy at all. Yes. And yes. That would be what my suspicion would be. Well, on the second note, revert back. Okay, this is going to sound weird, but bear with me. Free will. I think we talked about this before. Free will versus fate, destiny, whatever. It's kind of connected to that, your second part where you say can get enlightened and then revert. That's kind of connected to free will. I said once that I don't, in my religion, believe that free will is a thing. I'm totally fatalistic. That's not 100% true, because enlightenment is the freedom of your will. The only free will that exists is God. That is the free will. So I would guess that if somebody became enlightened and they wanted to go back, to revert a little bit, to come back, whatever, their will is essentially free. But non-enlightened state means that your will isn't free. You're dictated by the whims of this order, by the whims of nature, hunger, pain, suffering. So while here in this mire, we don't have free will per se. And the one that does is called God. What's up, YouTube? And why quiet, Ken? Hi, what you talking about? Enlightenment and stuff. How are you doing? Hi, monkey. Hi. I see. Yeah, good question. Yeah. Chapter 2. Starts to get a little complicated. Okay. Time began when one thing became two things. Then two things also broke apart and became four things, and so on. This doesn't mean literally, because who knows what the number was, like the actual mathematical number. The point is that time began when the unity broke up to this very moment. That's what time is the figuring of that division. JK. Robin Pates. I didn't even see what your message was. What are you joking about? Why? Summer and Roblox. Why your hair like Jesus? I don't know. I like longer hair on me. It just jives better. I don't know. So does that make okay sense? Like, I'm trying not to just babble meaninglessly. And I tried in this writing to really, really simplify it. Like, I mean, break it down to like very simple language for my own sake. Verse 2 says, inside everything, literally everything, every atom, every piece of everything, there remained the original two, and between the two, one. So everything in the universe is made up of the qualities of those two that were in the previous chapter. The two qualities of God, El and Ah. Are you the chosen one? No, you are. Literally, if you want me to be 100% real, this planet, you people, are the chosen ones. That's why there's life here. That's why you exist. This place was literally chosen. I love it. I get it so much. I'm really happy. I'm glad that this can make sense. One of my biggest anxieties is communication. For us, this is verse 3, there are two ways of being, or two orders. One order we'll call the immediate order. I'm putting air quotes just for reference. The other order is called the ultimate order. The immediate order is the same as time itself. And the ultimate order is that which in time will be. That's why it's called the ultimate. Oat? I'm sorry. My freaking eyes are old. This place was chosen for nothing. It's a jungle ever since day one. It's still a jungle. Well, it's partly chosen because it is a jungle. It emerged as one. But no, the earth was very much chosen. Specifically. It doesn't seem that way, but so the immediate order and the ultimate order. There's a teaching in Buddhism that I learned not too long ago that talks about something called absolute truth versus relative truth. In other words, things can appear in life, in interaction, in vision, seeing stuff, just stuff. Things can appear one way, but in ultimate truth, they're actually a different way. It's all about perception. Same idea. The immediate order versus the ultimate order. The immediate order is what we are facing right now. What this phone is, what this light is. You know what I mean? It's everything. This is the immediate order. The ultimate order is heaven, nirvana, basically completion. So ultimate ultimate timing, meaning there's order, you say. Well, again, yeah, there is order, in spite of it not appearing so. And I use that word specifically, order, because I didn't know what else to call the thing that it was floating in my head. Like order, realm, like I don't know how to. Sunset Bunny, what's up? How are you? It doesn't seem there is order. Right, it doesn't seem so. What's that laughing square? Oh, I thought that was like from Pac-Man or something. I'm sorry, it's late. Okay, I get it. Thanks for the Buddhist analogy. Yeah, I learned that recently. They actually, in Buddhism, it's called the Two Truths. You could like look it up on YouTube, but this monk guy was explaining it, and he gave an analogy about like the appearances of things can always be deceiving. Like it's good stuff, but it's the same idea. Immediate order. In other words, immediate meaning what's in front of your face versus ultimately what will be. What we're experiencing here culminates in the ultimate order. In the ultimate order, praise be to God, is good, but it's not here yet. You can be closer to it or further away. And that's a whole other can of worms. That's why I read comic book. It's a lot easier to figure out. What do you mean? We just got the caves in this planet. You're not wrong. It's gonna be a while. Like, I hope that we make it past this crossroads and the ones that will follow. I think we will. But this is definitely an ancient time that we're living in. An ancient epoch. That's what I was told. Is that the time we're living in right now will one day, inshallah, God willing, will one day be looked back upon as being the same stuff as cave people. Like, it'll be that far advanced. We'll be clumped in the same epoch. The way that we clump in our minds today, when you think of prehistory, you think of prehistory, something like 100,000 BC to 10,000 BC, thereabouts, how you clump history like that. We now will be clumped in the same broad epoch as still being ancient. So yeah, we are just out of the caves. This planet is random. I hope so. This isn't the only place. I'm just gonna go full disclosure here. This isn't the only place where this is happening. Locally it is, but there are, I would highly suspect, other places, other seeds, and ones that are far more ancient and progressed. But locally, this is one of the chosen places. I hope it works out. So can I like talk about the immediate and ultimate order, or did I lose you? Is this from Star Trek's Holy Book? I don't know. Honestly, it all started when I was like 17 or 18. I had this really weird experience, and ever since then, I just jotted stuff down and refined it over time as I grew. I don't honestly know where it's from. I remember, though, it's funny you say Star Trek, because I remember one of the old episodes I saw, like my grandpa was a huge fan of Star Trek, and I forget which episode, but it was like made in the 60s or 70s. You could actually still see the strings, like on the puppets and stuff. I thought that was funny. That gave me a flashback. Back at it. So is it deeply correlated to any one religion? Sunesis as like cobbled together from a lot of different places. The one commonality that I would say is that, and this is kind of going off into the weeds, the intrinsic monotheism, except not monotheism in a conventional sense of the word, but like I said in a previous video, it's not so much about the unit one, like there must be one. No, you can't have any other, the point is unity, oneness. So in that sense, it's correlated a lot with previous revelations found in the Tanakh, or what the Christians call the Old Testament. I do refer myself to the ultimate being, God, as being nameless and formless as for our perception. So in that sense, it's of that same vein, but not much further. What was your last comment? Okay, I get it. Thanks for the Buddhist analogy. I guess I didn't see it, Pink Fur. The immediate order is the same as time itself. Same thing. The ultimate order is that which in time will be. That's the important part. It will be. It's just a matter of time. Oh no, that's not it. Well, tell me it again. For example, this gives an example. This book is written in and of the immediate order. But when we read it and understand it in our minds, that is closer to the ultimate order of things because it's in the mind. Your consciousness is closer. That's another way of saying your consciousness is closer to the ultimate than to the immediate. That's what consciousness is. You're not dictated strictly by the immediate needs, the immediate whims of nature and the world. You're actually guided by a functioning consciousness. And that's the latest development of biological life, which is where we're in however imperfect of a way, that's where we're at now. I find it interesting how different cultures have different names for God. It might have something to do with power. Interesting. Yeah, I agree. Like the name Elah. I didn't just make it up. Kind of. I found the word Elah. It actually shows up in the Tanakh, which is the Old Testament. It shows up like 3 times, the word Elah. It's very old Aramaic word, so I sort of borrowed it. The immediate order is what appears to us now, the present, and the ultimate order is what our now is becoming, yet in truth always was. That's what that sentence says. The immediate order is what appears to be us now, the present, and the ultimate order is what our now is becoming, yet in truth always was. So ultimately it's realized that it was only ever the eternal present. There was never a past, a future. That was all part of this conduction that we're in. In Hinduism and in Buddhism, they call it samsara, the wheel. Same idea. Bro, you look like Hollywood star. Really? I wish I was paid like one. But thank you. This is important. The immediate order is the same as cause and effect. Cause and effect. Same thing. Same word. Not the same word, but the same meaning. So whenever immediate order comes up, that language, it's the same as saying cause and effect. It's the same as saying the natural world. The natural world functions as cause and effect. And that's easy to prove. It's easy to see. The ultimate order, conversely, is the same as the first cause and the final effect, hence ultimate. Thus, the ultimate order embraces the immediate like a circle within a circle. If that makes sense. Have you ever had any supernatural otherworldly experiences, hallucinogens, or something? I deeply can't do myself, but I've heard fascinating stories. That I'm aware of, I've never had any hallucinogen. I have had a supernatural experience, if you want to know about it. I guess there's no reason not to share it. Like I said, when I think I was 18, just turned 18. Maybe I was 17. I don't remember. I basically fell into this really weird state of mind. I was in my bedroom. I sort of fell into a trance and then passed out. I was woken up by a bunch of weird shocks on my body. Ran across my knee, my hip, and then my shoulder. It felt like if you've ever been shocked by like an outlet, it felt like an electric shock. That's what I thought it was when I first got up. I was like, shit, like I thought I just electrocuted myself. It was like at 3 a.m. But that's what startled me awake. I immediately sat up, and then I just went in this daze for like however long. Looked over at my clock, and it had been like 2.5 or 3 hours. Since, if you could boil it down to one moment in time, since I became kind of overtly spiritual, that was when it all started. I don't know what that was. But I still remember the feeling of it. So ever since then, I've been doing like soul searching, going to different places, talking with different people, reading a lot of books. And the result of all that journaling is this. That's what Sunesis is. It could have been a medical episode. Didn't happen again. But it was weird. Very weird. That's kind of the skeleton of the story. Yeah. A lack of vitamins. Yeah. Probably. Time became when Allah God broke apart, and all things were made that will ever be made, are made, or have been made, and all that's been undone. So when that singularity broke apart, all this stuff happened already. It doesn't make sense to say that now because we're in it, but ultimately, that's what will be seen. Medical episodes and supernatural events don't have to be separate things at all. But supernatural, if you mean like supernatural as in ghosts and spiritual stuff like that, that's just like that I've experienced. There's a few. But strictly spiritual or revelatory would be that one I talked about. But I've seen things. Or I hope that I've seen things. Some pretty creepy stuff. I do believe in the coexistence of other layers to this realm that sometimes like pop through. Totally down with all that. I had an experience as a child, which I prefer not to give details about, but it's different. Wasn't good, but I would say not bad either, because I feel as if it would have took from who I am now, if now. Not sure what substance, but altering. Oh, I see what you're saying. Interesting. So you don't know whether it was a positive or negative effect on you? What do you think of forced spiritual awakening experiences via substances? So that's a great question. Let me think. So using substances in order to achieve certain goalposts of awakening, if you want to call it that, I don't dismiss as illegitimate. I think because your actual physical brain on substances, they're I'm not scientifically educated enough to comment on specific types of substances, but I would suspect that specific types of substances more or less suspend what would otherwise cloud things that are there but you haven't been able to interpret, if that makes sense. It's not a causation, it just reveals. The advice that I would give to somebody if they asked me, like, just for example, I don't even know if this is legit, but like DMT, I've heard a lot about. People have talked about. I've had friends who have talked about DMT, or any psychedelic like that. I would just say be careful, because it's almost like, I'd almost put it like this: if you're driving down the road, you have to get to a destination. You're driving down the road at a certain speed, with certain equipment. Let's say it begins to rain or adverse weather and you're speeding down the road. You choose to put pedal to the metal and speed. The equipment you have, what you're equipped with, literally, like physically, in your brain, might not be ready to see what you're gonna see. For some, for others, they could be ready, whatever. So I'm not like morally judgmental of those things, because I've heard a lot of stories of people who have tried certain things for therapeutic reasons and it's really helped their life in a positive way. So I don't think you can dismiss it for that reason. And also, I think that maybe some people are more prepared than they think they are to see beyond the veil, so to speak, if you catch my drift. But there are probably some people who are not prepared and that it would affect them in some adverse way. That would be my answer. People are tapping into their subconscious with that stuff. Yeah, I don't know what the hell that stuff does specifically, like scientifically. I've only heard stories and Joe Rogan. Messed up my natal or had to mature differently, but also I feel as if it gave me a different way of thinking. Mind you, this wasn't something I'd give consent behind. Does that make sense? Yeah, it makes sense. I see what you're saying. I see it's a fair warning. I know Lily is not prepared. Right. That's what I mean by not prepared, because who knows what'll pop up? Who knows what mechanisms we've grown within ourselves to block certain things, which may or may not be beneficial to see, to experience, to witness, or to revisit. So, a professional, whatever that would mean, a psychiatrist, I don't know who would be a professional with drugs or substances like that. That's where I would refer a person. I'd be like, talk to them, because they know exactly which chemicals it'll hit. They have the medical education. But as far as morality goes, if you're talking about what are the morals of substances, it's just like any other consumable. What's the morals of it? You know, I don't really see an absolute line where it's like people with pot. A lot of people cope with very traumatic things with pot, or even mildly traumatic things, and it just improves their life in general, by all means. Because ultimately, this is a vehicle. So if you got to adjust the vehicle a certain way to get by, it's better than the alternative. But yeah, there was something else I was going to say, but I forgot what it was. Not even medical doctors can be certain about what an individual might experience. That's true. My guess would just be that they would be more likely to be closer to certainty than just some dude. I don't know. Using drugs or substances for a spiritual means is almost akin to people that practice certain types of ritualistic or magic based practices. There's an old trope, for example. I'm not saying whether it's true or not, because I'm really indifferent, but there's an old trope that you shouldn't use a Ouija board, for example, because Ouija boards grab whatever's in the air, so to speak. Anything that passes by can come through, because there's no filter. It's just raw. It could be good, could be bad, malevolent, helpful. It's just in the same sense. That's how I see substances. But on a physical, obviously a more physical level. Because there's a lot of people out there that will mess around with the shadow realms, so to speak, that have no clue what they're doing and might get into trouble, or might not. But that's the uncanniness of it. You just don't know. No, you wouldn't attempt Ouija board or that type of stuff. Yeah. Same with tarot cards. A practitioner could have enough experience to be able to handle what comes through stuff, but it's not recommended unless you know what you're doing. The problem with today is that, I mean, it's been a problem since eternity, but a lot of times people who are kind of willy-nilly or curious will stumble onto stuff that maybe they shouldn't have. And some things floating out there can become attached or attracted to that type of innocence. Is tarot cringe or have any use? You can make use out of anything. It's really the tarot. It's almost like rolling dice. Like, it's what you read into it. It's really the reader. The power comes through you. So if there's a tarot reader, for example, who knows what they're doing, has been practicing, knows all the rules and the ins and the outs, that karma is on them. They take responsibility for whatever comes through. But just willy-nilly kind of experimenting with magic like that, I wouldn't recommend. Especially without any guardrails. It's kind of like bowling for the first time without gutter rails. You might wind up in the gutter. I had a reading with tarot cards. I wasn't expecting anything from it, but I was blown away by facts that no one even knew about. I was just like, wow. Yeah, yeah. Understandable. What's up, Socket? You want truth, you have to go to the first source of the divine, the main divine source. Right, that's the safest way. Very true. In a sense, that's where religious regulation originated, was to have a streamlined source to beneficial stuff rather than going off into these not often beaten trails, so to speak. I only speak from personal experience and in seeking. Feel free to elaborate whatever you want. This is a free channel. Luke of Hazard. Hello, Luke. Rabbit holes. Yeah, it's related to that too. You could tie in the same principle to, like, maybe rabbit holes, not that you're talking about, but like conspiratorial rabbit holes, like online and stuff. Like, people who don't know things draw conclusions from fractures of information and then draw a Frankenstein conclusion and run with it because they don't know how to piece things together. That's also becoming, especially in this day and age, with the ubiquity of information like this, that's becoming more and more of like a phenomenon in the same kind of sense. Dogs are forever in the push-up position. Interesting. Honestly, if you need wreck these lives and cut them up, you can make vids. Honestly, if you wreck these lives and cut them up, you can make vids. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I've tried that. It's just like I'm so technologically illiterate that I'm like, but there's a couple that I've tried. I think I put on the channel because YouTube made me make like studio or whatever. So I tried like clipping certain stuff because that's why I originally went on to lives, was because my old phone, this is a new used phone, but my old phone couldn't even handle anything. It had like 1 megabyte. So phenomenon, how can explain again? Which phenomenon? What do you mean? Record. Yeah. The thing is that these are recorded, but then they're put into like a private stash on my channel that no one else can see, but I can make them public and clip them. So I'm working on it. I'm trying to see if I can like clip certain, because to upload a video just me like sitting here talking to myself and then uploading it takes forever. Like I uploaded a 15-minute one not too long ago and it took like 16 minutes to upload the damn thing. You making that music? Nice. Do you use a lot of electronic stuff? Another word for heaven is union. Another word for the immediate order could be disunion. Our bodies grow out of the immediate and our souls grow toward the ultimate. You remember Jesus in the garden? The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. There you go. If you could know all of this world's secrets, but no one would believe you, would you accept? Let me reread that. If you could know all of the world's secrets, but no one would believe you, would you accept? Yes. Yeah, mainly FL Studio, PC program, but I can play some guitar and piano. Damn, really? I wish I was cool enough to play an instrument. Did you enjoy the dumplings? Yeah, they were really good. Yeah. I do miss chicken, but unfortunately chickens are sentient, so they're haram. Trap House grows. Such a profound feller. You think so? All things are ultimately united and united again. Basically, everything is alive. Everything is alive as the creator of everything is living. The immediate order is the same as nature. The creator is living. Chicken what? Didn't I already tell you this, Lily? I'm vegetarian. No, I'm not vegan. Vegan is unnecessary in my religion. but I am vegetarian. Chickens, unfortunately, they have a level of sentience, like consciousness, that it's forbidden for me to eat chicken. That's a whole other thing, which is also written down, but basically anything that has a soul that's detectable, one shouldn't eat if you follow the religion. Oh, I thought I had mentioned that. My bad. I'm sort of on the fence about fish because I used to love tuna, especially at Subway, tuna sandwiches at Subway. But then I read this scientific article that said that basically fish can dream, and that kind of ruined it for me. Because if you can dream, then that shows a certain degree of consciousness that's too closely uncomfortable. Oh, then I'm going to hell. No, it's well, is this a bad that would be a bad way. That would be a bad intro to that whole hell thing, because I don't want to like give the wrong impression. Um Everyone goes through hell. So but it's not, you go through hell, you don't go to hell. And part of that going through hell is right here, right now. And heaven. They're both here. I think God gave us a lot of options when it comes to food. It's kind of like the Catholics, they have something called a mortal sin, and then there's a venial sin. Is that the word? Are there any Catholics here? I think it's called venial sin. But basically, it's a way of designating sin in degrees. So in my religion, sin is in degrees. Sin is sin, but it's in degrees. So, like, just to give an example, if you had other means of nutrition and you chose to eat a Whopper, that degree of sin is venial. It's not mortal. It's not a mortal sin. It's still a sin. There's still karma, but it's all in a spectrum. That's why I hate going to the store now. Ever since converting myself, so to speak, because I'll see the meat aisle and it'll be row after row of just dead carcasses. And it'll just be like, they'll have the pig, and there'll be the ground beef tubes, and there'll be sausages and hot dogs and canned meat. And I'm just like looking at all this shit, and I'm seeing bad karma everywhere. Oh, I choose chicken nuggets. I mean, if you really wanted to get technical, it's a lot safer to eat chicken than, say, like a pig or a cow. Stop, please. Stop talking about food. Okay. As consciousness is the soul of an individual, Allah, God, is the soul of nature. So when we talk about God, God is what's behind nature. It's just another way of saying it. What is a soul? It conducts. The soul is what conducts an individual. The soul of nature, like everything, is God. So what conducts nature? God. That's another way of saying it. Then it says, ultimately, nature will be conscious and there will be God. That's a whole other thing. From one, many, and from many, back to one. So, beginning, the singularity, the multiplicity, which is this, back to the singularity. It's all full circle. There were roughly 3,000 gods before this one. Why do you think this god is different? What, you mean Allah? It's different and not different and non-different. Different in the sense of my interpretation of the divine is Sunesis. Personally, that's what it went through, was me, this brain. So it's different in that sense, but non-different in the sense that yes, there were thousands of other gods. There could be thousands of other gods. There's no, I don't see what you're saying in comparative terms. It doesn't make any sense. Like if you're saying, oh, there's thousands of gods, so your God is just as illegitimate. I don't see the bridge there. Those other gods say, pick your random god. Pick your random god. That's just what the divine sort of went through with that person's brain or those people's brains, whoever interpreted that. It's apples and oranges. Is it tied to diet? I'm curious now. What's tied to diet? What do you mean? Daniel 9, the 70-week prophecy, foretold the exact year of Jesus' ministry from 500 years prior, his death 3 years later, bringing an end to sacrifice and the destruction of the temple. It all happened. Now you're getting in the Bible. Daniel 9, 70-week prophecy, foretold the exact year of Jesus' ministry from 500 years prior. Okay. His death 3 years later, okay. Bringing an end to sacrifice and the destruction of the temple. Okay. It all happened. Let me see. Let's just take a gander. Where you at, Daniel? Why are you always hiding? Daniel Limitations. He's one of the later ones, isn't he? Yeah, there he is. I'm still listening to you, Pink Fur. What were you referring to? "70 years of desolation." Chapter 9 is kind of long. Do you have anything specific, Big Bear? This is a King James version, so forgive me. "Yea, while I was speaking in prayer, even the man Gabriel, whom I had seen in the vision at the beginning, being caused to fly swiftly, touched me about the time of the evening oblation. And he informed me and talked with me and said, O Daniel, I am now come forth to give thee skill and understanding. At the beginning of thy supplications the commandment came forth, and I come to shew thee, for thou art greatly beloved. Therefore understand the matter and consider the vision." Oh, the 70 weeks. Okay. 70 weeks are determined upon the people, upon thy people, and upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up the vision and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Yeah, but the last 1,000 years has been erased. So you see, they're lying. The last 1,000 years have been erased. What do you mean? The decree to rebuild Jerusalem was Ezra 7, the 7th year of King Artaxerxes. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto the Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again in the wall, and even in troublous times. Oh boy. I'm gonna need a cigarette. Big Bear 69 sevens from 457 BC, the 7th year of King Artaxerxes, 27 AD. Sorry, I heard something. So what are you alluding to, Big Bear? Read the script, wake up. 27 AD is when Jesus was baptized. Sure. They're manufacturing order of the chaos. Well, yeah, that's kind of their job, isn't it? Just lighting incenses. Nice. Your King James was hijacked. King James was a sick man, too. Yeah, I know it. I know it was, it's not perfect. But I'm trying to help you. Help me with what? If it foretold the exact Jesus ministry, his death 3 years later, bringing an end to sacrifice, destruction of the temple, all which happened. Okay. Well, that's if you're, granted, that's if you're assuming that the book of Daniel was written when it says it was written, which is dubious. It could have been written much later. But also, besides that, what's your end game? I'm trying to help you ascend. What do you mean, suck it? Like the King James? You think I'm like married to the King James version? I'm not understanding. It doesn't matter when it was written. The starting date for the prophecy is the decree to rebuild Jerusalem. I mean, it kind of does matter when it was written, don't you think? Because it could have been written later than it's allegedly written. What do they have to say about that? I wonder. What was it, Daniel 9? Let's see what Mr. Oxford Annotated New Revised Standard Version has to say about Daniel 9, since we're sitting here anyway. Daniel 9. Y'all ever read the book of Amos? I was actually really impressed. Okay, I'll just read you the footnotes of this. Isn't parts of Daniel is written in Aramaic? No deputies. I don't know what you're saying. Wake up, you guys. Okay, this is what. Let me make sure. Hold on. Third apocalypse. Gabriel. Swift flight. First mention in the Bible of human-like angels have the ability to fly. The evening sacrifice. A word went out. 70 weeks. Jeremiah's prophecy is revised to 70 weeks, or 490 years, a sevenfold punishment. In Hebrew, the words for weeks and 70 have the same consonants, thus grounding Daniel's reinterpretation of Jeremiah. The numbers are symbolic approximations, not strict chronological calculations. To finish the transgressions, the sins of the people will run their course, allowing for restoration. An anointed one shall be cut off. The high priest Onias III was murdered in 172 or 171 BCE. That's in 2nd Maccabees. And shortly thereafter, Jerusalem was attacked by the prince who is to come, who was Antiochus IV. But that's not really answering. So I think that was the key sentence there. It says, in Hebrew, the words for weeks and 70 have the same consonants, thus grounding Daniel's reinterpretation of Jeremiah. The numbers are symbolic approximations, not strict chronological calculations. Hang on, I was yakking too much. Jesus speaks about the same thing in Luke 21. Read what's called the script about the systematic religion, then you can awaken. Okay, I'll read that. So much time people lose on indoctrinated thinking, getting nowhere, asking the same questions 50 years later. So, Daniel itself, the book of Daniel, is it okay if I just read? According to chapter 1, Daniel was taken to Babylon. Daniel himself was taken to Babylon at the beginning of the Babylonian exile and was chosen to serve in the royal court. This setting, however, does not necessarily reflect the realities of the book's historical context and composition. Several major historical errors in chapter 1 suggest that the author wrote long after the Babylonian conquest of Judah and very likely was not attempting to write a historical account at all, but rather of historical fiction set in that time period. The writers of chapter 1 through 6 were Jewish scribes that had some knowledge of the foreign culture with which they were writing, but it is not clear that they served in the royal administration, as Daniel and his friends are depicted as doing. Though foreigners did serve in lower-ranking posts in the Babylonian and Persian courts, there's no evidence that they held senior position. The court tales probably began as individual stories that were written during the Persian period, 539 to 333 BC. They were originally written in Aramaic, the common language of the Persian Empire, although chapter 1 was later translated into Hebrew. So the book of Daniel has a lot of fingerprints on it, in other words. As do most or all of the books of the Christian Bible. I say Christian Bible to distinguish it from the strictly Hebrew Bible, which is the Jewish holy book. This type of stuff in the ancient world, it's not like today where there was a dude named Daniel who sat down on a computer and wrote out a bunch of stuff uninhibited by anything that was going on. Daniel could have been a real guy that wrote a certain chunk. That chunk was elaborated on 100 years later by scribes, which was then elaborated on further by scribes, blah, 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 blah. And thus, today we have the Book of Daniel with his name covering the entire thing. That's how most books are in the Bible. So it's a little bit of a hard sell when you point to parts of the Bible as evidence of validity of prophecy, if it could be interpreted that these parts were written after, like post prophecy, these manuscripts, like a prophecy predicting that the Babylonians destroyed the first temple. Was it the second? No, they destroyed the first one. Let's say a prophecy said that somewhere in some book in the Bible. That prophecy could have been written in later, like 100 years later, after the temple was destroyed. But it shows up as if it's talking about its future. That's a lot of times, like, and there are ways of telling whether or not it's just dubious. Does that make sense? But again, that's what makes me wonder, what's the original point? Is the point to say, therefore Jesus is God? Like, what's the point? What are you trying to get at? That's why I think, if I can just be real, we just need a revision. Just, it's been what, 4,000 years of this stuff. Everybody just needs to sit back, make a revision. Everything's cool. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just because ancient texts have problems doesn't mean that God isn't real, that there isn't a God. Plenty of human interference with stuff. That's why it's a little bit sad when people learn about this stuff, like the inconsistencies in the Bible, and they just throw out religion entirely. It's a little bit frustrating because there's so much more. And that's just the Hebrew Bible. You're not even talking about the Bhagavad Gita, the Mahabharata, the Avesta. You're not talking about all this other stuff. There's so much out there. There's such a wealth. The original point will come together. It'll have to come together. It'll reconnect after being tainted, interfered with. Just like oil and water. Yeah, you're right. You're on the money. It's just that people tend to get kind of defensive. That, I think, is probably a lot of the fuel behind the chaos that's enveloping the world in the past few decades, is just what you're saying. Oil and water, you've got facts, and then you've got traditional interpretations, and these two meet, and there's all this confusion and fighting and doubling down. People get defensive about their traditions because they've built such security around this worldview that if something threatens it, now we're hostile toward that thing which threatens it, even if that thing is true. So then you live a lie. It's like that's probably why there's so much turbulence. Just an aggregate of all of that tension. But it'll probably work out. And it's happened many times before. Just like the Bible says, there's nothing new under the sun. That's why it's important to remember that ultimately everything will be okay. Ultimately, even if it doesn't seem so. The storm will pass and the sun will come back out. And then another storm will come. What's up, Anne? How are you? Are you up late or early? What do y'all want me to do? Any chances you can read Isaiah 45:1 from the NRSV and its commentary? Sure. Isaiah. I love Isaiah. Isaiah 45:1. Isaiah 45:1. This is why I love the NRSV. There's so much juicy information in here. So the verse is, "Thus says the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have grasped to subdue nations before him and strip kings of their robes, to open doors before him, and the gates shall not be closed." 45:1. The interpretation says, Cyrus is commissioned to act as the Lord's agent for restoration and is identified as the Lord's Messiah or Anointed One to signify that the Persian king now occupies the role once held by the Davidic kings. The imagery presupposes elements of the Babylonian Akitu or New Year festival, in which the Babylonian king's right to rule was renewed for the coming year. The king grasped the hand of Marduk, the god of Babylon, and was granted the tablets of destiny as part of his authorization to rule. Cyrus was authorized to serve as king of Babylon when he participated in the Akitu festival in 539 BCE. The Lord here takes the role of Marduk and is declared to be the only God and authorizes Cyrus to rule. A lot of stuff there. Cyrus. Dude who wiped out the Babylonians. Bubby's over there. He's sleeping. Thanks, I will have to get me an NRSV. Yeah, it's really cool. I'm so glad I got this. Although I wish it was in slightly bigger print. But that's my only complaint. Otherwise, I love the whole thing with all my heart and soul. It gives so many footnotes. And then in the back, it has appendices that are really cool, talking about historical context, like textual criticism, has maps, and it has the Apocrypha, which is sweet. It's really oh my god, I lost a like. That hurts my feelings. I'm gonna go cry. I want to go to a Bible study. What do you think about Bible studies? Are they still relevant? Of course. Go to one. Yeah, the Bible is still very much relevant. It's just it is what it is. And that's what it is. People tend to make things what they're not. Yeah, I lost a like. I had 11 likes. I just imagine somebody seeing this, having liked it, and been like, fuck this guy. Unlike. It's funny to me. I just don't want which version I'll get. You know. Oh, I don't know. I only care for the God of the modern world, the algorithm. I don't care. I don't want which version I'll get, Oh, you don't know which version you'll get? Yeah. It's always a risk. But it's still fun to talk about. How about you conduct a makeshift Bible study host? Ask chat for a possible topic we might all share in. Are you talking to me or Lily? That's why it was so fun at the Mormon church for me, because they got every week, I think it was on Thursday or something, maybe Fridays, we would have what was called the Elders Quorum, which was basically a men's group Bible study type thing, Book of Mormon study. And everyone would, it'd be volunteer basis. No one would ever volunteer, but like I kept hogging all the volunteering because I just loved standing there talking and discussing the Bible, Book of Mormon, all that. But I sort of used that as like a jumping, stepping stone to talking about more basic stuff, because they would give you a guidebook. That's the thing about the church, is you would have to have a guidebook and you couldn't deviate from the guidebook that far. So I had to kind of keep it as like an anchor, but go off a little bit into the weeds when I could get away with it. I basically infiltrated the church. It was just a passing thought. I'm not too tired, and I'm too tired to partake. Oh, I see what you mean. Well, last time I met a lady at work sounded interesting until the subject of LGBT came about. Then rage, hate unleashed from her being. I was terrified and I had to say, I'm sorry, I'm not going. So no way was I going to go with her to her Bible study. That's the thing, is it's like the whole gay thing. So dumb. It's so irrelevant. I see what you're saying, because that's 90% of the case. Even at these churches that are really like hip, so to speak. Like there's one locally that's kind of a hipster kind of church. A lot of young people go there. Pretty popular and attractive place. But there was one service I sat in on where the topic of LGBT came up. And of course, it was, it was the typical LGBT is Satan inspired and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, well, there goes that one too. I don't know. That wasn't the only problem they had. The hell is that? Oh, it's TikTok. Leave me alone. Literally, of all the things to care about, really? That some dude likes other dudes? That some dude likes wieners? I'm just gonna say it. Or some woman likes other women? Of all the things to care about, that's the fish to fry? Like, that's the issue? Never mind domestic abuse. Never mind any issue, any plethora of other social, spiritual issues you could pick. Not only that, but the justification for it comes from mostly Leviticus. Have you read Leviticus? Did you know that there's 613 other laws that you draw from that talk about not eating shellfish, not working on the Sabbath, which is actually Friday to Saturday, not wearing two clothes or a clothing of two different kinds of fabric, forbidden, divorce, forbidden. That's the one thing you bring up. Like, even if you subscribed to, so that tells me it's purely a man-made social construct, weirdo bigotry thing. It has nothing to do with sexual orientation. Is morally neutral. It's between consenting adults. Sexual orientation is morally neutral. It doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with the destiny of your soul. But people have such a like an animus about it. And it's just because it's different. It's bigotry. That's all it is. That's sort of snuck into religion. And it's fucking annoying. Right. And then you get this reputation from what you're saying, Pink Fur. Then you get the counterculture that a lot of times LGBTQ people will then hate all religion or all spirituality because they've been burned, understandably. Like, they've been burned by their experiences with the church. So whenever someone like me, for example, will say God or religion, that's become a poison word, which is unfortunate in that sense too. It just sucks all around. Parker. Where? Where's Diddy? And I tell you what, there was this when I was in the Mormon church, something stuck out to me. I hope I don't get sued for saying this. I don't think anybody's watching anyway, like any corporations or whatever. But there was a young woman who was a lesbian, openly lesbian, grew up Mormon, was part of a Mormon family. She wasn't a convert, but she was openly lesbian, which you can do in the Mormon church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You can be openly homosexual, but you must be chaste. So, like, there's that rule. You can't have partnership, obviously, but you can be openly homosexual. You just can't get the endowment and be married and all this other stuff. But this woman, she was like 23. She was very young. She would come up every Friday and they would share what's called testimonials. Like a lot of times Mormons would go up and they would just share their testimony of faith, sort of proclaiming their belief, yada yada, maybe offering a story from their week, whatever. She would cry every testimonial, like sob on stage, on the pulpit, talking about some story of some inner struggle she had. But thankfully, the Lord turned her away from that temptation, and like she would visibly be upset, and she wore it on her face and just went week after week after week like that with this inner conflict between faith, what she interpreted as faith, and her lesbianism. And it was just, you just want, I just want to be like, it's not a big deal. It's okay to be gay. It's okay. Well, God doesn't, what? Doesn't matter. Has nothing to do with your soul. It's okay to be trans. What does that have to do with the destiny of your soul? Well, Sodom and Gomorrah, just shut the fuck up about all that. You have no clue what you're talking about. It makes me mad because it ruins real people's lives every day. And that, I felt bad for her too. And that's her, one of millions who grow up in households, in families, that is condemned. Think of the social pressure. Think of the familial pressure. Think of the talks they've had. Think of the way her family treats her. Think of times a million cases. The suffering is just so unnecessary. It's unnecessary. There's enough suffering to go around. You don't need to add more suffering. That's one of like 5 or 6 reasons why I left. Mostly because I didn't buy it, but also because I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take that kind of dissonance over something so stupid. Stupid in the sense of being perfectly permissible. But yeah, I felt bad for it too. Yeah, and there'd always be awkward conversations with the church leadership. Not to mention I'm by myself. So if you part of principle is to be honest. So in my own religion, to be honest is a principle. I'm literally not allowed. I don't allow myself to live a closeted life, which has been something when it's really nothing. Like, to me, if somebody said, I'm bi, I'm trans, whatever, but to other people, it's a big deal. Already enough divides yeah. This man is fine. Wow. Thank you. Inconsequential is LGBTQ in terms of spirituality. Inconsequential. That's how I would interpret it. No, it's not morally abhorrent to love a man if you're a man, or a woman if you're a woman. It's not abhorrent to be trans. That's all bullshit. And then you got this whole rift with what's going on with the community between transphobia increasing even within the LGBT community. That was news to me like a year ago. I was like, what? There are people who are like LGB only, trying to part with the trans. Like, what the fuck? Dare to be dull. I like anyone with values and kindness. Me too. Different in a godly manner, observant of what the Bible shares. What are you trying to say? And that's another thing is people will say, well, the Bible says. You know what, Jim? The Bible says a lot. It says a lot. And you can make the Bible say many things. That's why there's 10,000 denominations. So to say, well, the Bible says, which one? Which canon? Which interpretation of which canon? Which pastor? It's just. Not everyone honors God and aren't of the Father. It's true that not everyone honors God. They're not of the Father or the Mother. Well, everybody's of that, but it's all about proximity in the end. You just focus on the principles. Part of this whole thing can be resolved if you focus on the cores. What matters in life, and what doesn't. The wheat and the chaff, or chaff, or whatever. Just go back to the principles. any kind of social issue, political, whatever, that's all fluff. Go back to the principles. Start there and then go forward. Who said that God is a man? Right, God is genderless in both genders. God is androgynous. God is the epitome of androgyny, if you're looking at it in that lens. Do you like Enya? Oh, I love Enya. Yeah. What's up? Good morning. Never seen you before the... Is that a fire and a bird? Good morning. Michigan. Where are you from? Wisconsin. My dad is from Wisconsin. Racine. Cool. Do you WVC ever? I'm not sure what that means. What do you mean? Oh, a Christian network? No. The last Christian network I watched sometimes was this old guy, Shepherd's Chapel, came out of Missouri. No, it was Arkansas. Sometimes he would be on late at night, and I'd watch his channel. I think his last name was Arnold, or his first name was Arnold Murray or something. Zola Levitt. Nice. Is that somebody famous? I want to try being vegetarian for a week. You should. It's pretty fun. There's a lot of protein in other stuff besides meat. Like, I never knew. Garbanzo beans, tofu, legumes of any kind, nuts. Broccoli has protein. A rabbi that passed from Israel. Zola Levitt. Oh, Rabbi? Are you Jewish? You shall not practice idolatry with your soul. Whichever thing or idea or person or book or tradition which siphons from the well of your devotion, Adam, to Allah God, to their principles, such is an idol, a false god. It is better for your soul that you'd submit to a clay statue and adhere loyally to the principles of faith than that you destroy the clay statue and ignore the principles of your faith. Discern of the mundane that which is art, and of the art that which is precious, and of your faith that which is supreme. That's a little bit later in the book. Not sure, but people ask that. I love the way. Oh, are you messianic? Ilan Nava and Paul Wilbur, Stephen Benton. Nice. I watch a lot of rabbis. I'm not saying what you were saying were rabbis, but it reminded me of it. I was really sad when Rabbi Aiden Steinsaltz passed away. He's the one that translated the Talmud into English. Do you like amusement parks? Mostly. Does Disney count? I love Disney. I've been to Cedar Point. That was pretty cool. I used to be really scared of roller coasters, but not so much anymore. They just make me dizzy. I think because I'm old. Don't know. Aren't we ingrained and scattered everywhere? Yeah. Aiden Steinsaltz. Yeah, he was a really cool guy. Rabbi. Found his channel a while ago. He translated the Talmud into English. I looked up how much an English translation of the Talmud would be in its entirety, and it was something in the order of $3,900. So yeah. Yeah. That's the right spelling, just the S is a Z, I think. Yeah, I'm really old. Allah God, they are one and all. Limit not a limitless God. Huh. Smack my head. Why are you smacking your head? Jados. Yo, how's it going? It's going okay. I'm just chilling, reading stuff. Yo, me born in the early 60s. Well, I feel old. Oh, there it is. You shall not eat the flesh of any animal whatsoever, whose potency of soul is of a sentient order. Sorry. Can you please just a little bit of Book of Job? When were you born? I feel old, but not in the 60s. I was born in 91. Nomadic Nation YouTube link from Rental. Oh, okay. The Book of Job? Sure, Lily. Whatever you want. Where you at, Job? Who? That's right, you said, yeah, I'm 94. You're 94? Yeah, it is cold out tonight. According to God, we to be as little children and believe we're very young in God knowledge. Yeah, compared to God, like, we're always babies. I am back, can't sleep. How's it going, Jeremy? You feeling any better? I'm currently wearing my boots. The price of wisdom. But where shall wisdom be found, and where is the place of understanding? Man knoweth not the price thereof, neither is it found in the land of the living. The depth saith, it is not with me. The sea saith, it is not with me. It cannot be gotten for gold, neither shall silver be weighed for the price thereof. It cannot be valued with the gold of Ophir, with the precious onyx or the sapphire. The gold and the crystal cannot equal it, and the exchange of it shall be for jewels of fine gold, shall not be for jewels of fine gold. No mention shall be made of coral or of pearls, for the price of wisdom is above rubies. The topaz of Ethiopia shall not equal it, neither shall it be valued with pure gold. Whence then cometh wisdom, and where is the place of understanding? Seeing it is hid from the eyes of all living, and kept close from the fowls of the air. Destruction and death say, we have heard the fame thereof with our ears. I'm not 94 old. Oh, 1991, sorry. My great grandma is 94. I seriously feel like I'm watching Fox Mulder. Has your friends ever said you look like him? David Duchovny? No, I don't believe so. My kids were born in 83 and 86. If you have them on, please tie them up. They're tied up, Jeremy. Wisdom is very precious. Yeah, so it would seem. Times and seasons a lot nowadays for sure. Yeah. Yeah. God understandeth the way thereof, and he knoweth the place thereof. For if he looketh to the ends of the earth, and seeth under the whole heaven, to make the weight for the winds, and he weighteth the waters by measure, then he made a decree for the rain, and a way for the lightning of the thunder. Then did he see it and declare it, and he prepared it, yea, and searched it out. And unto man he said, Behold, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding. I really would wonder what the Hebrew words for wisdom and understanding are. Get in the ark. Yeah. Yeah. Is that Buddy I hear? Please keep reading. No. Bubby doesn't usually say he doesn't say much. Usually. The book of Job. If I rejoiced because my wealth was great, and because mine hand had gotten much, if I beheld the sun when it shined, or the moon walking in brightness, and my heart hath been secretly enticed, or my mouth hath kissed my hand, this also were iniquity to be punished by the judge. For I should have denied that the God that is above. Poor Job. The word of the Lord. Plus the sun and the meteor storm about Earth's heading upon us, as we'll see. Is the meteor coming here, or is it just causing a bunch of storms? What? Oh, you're talking about the coronal mass ejection. Sun's about to pop. I'm going to sleep. Wishing you and Bubby a good night. Have a good night, Lily. Thanks for dropping in. I appreciate it. I hope you have good dreams. Was hearing that the church goes through the 7 churches in the processes of going through the evolving spiritually. 3. The fulfillment God performs in us observant students. Interesting. Well, I better call it quits too. I'm extremely tired. But thank you all for coming in. Your viewership is my privilege. I really appreciate. That sounds really cozy, J Deeds. Be blessed. I hope you all stay safe out there. Until next time.